Welcome to this week's Ask Charlie. I am standing in front of, I think, my favourite cupboard in the entire house. Simon and I designed this house with an architect many years ago, and one of my essential things that I needed to have in our family home was this cupboard. Sorry, puppy's being noisy. There will be some background noise. It's life. But we were limited a little bit on space. I knew that I couldn't have absolutely everything I wanted. Sometimes in life it's about compromise, and so I compromised some of the space in the laundry room to have this cupboard. So there's about that much space lost from the laundry room for this. So without further ado, let's have a look in my larder cupboard. So I carefully designed this with our kitchen designer. We used DG Clifton, and they are a local company and they were excellent to work with. They designed the kitchen and the laundry room and this space with me. And I have been passionate about food, about cookery for many, many years. I mean, sort of about 25 years I have been cooking, and I just love having everything here in one place. And I have carefully kind of organised it and labelled it. So if the children say to me, "Mummy, where's the spare ketchup?" I can say on the right hand side, second shelf, and they can just go straight to it. I know where absolutely everything is in this space, and I like to keep it organised, labelled, so when I unpack a food shop it goes in the right places. And that for me is crucial. I don't have time to spend hunting for things, so I find, and I talk about this a lot in my efficient home course, if everything has a place, then it's easy to find, it's easy to put it back, and you're not spending hours hunting for things, you don't lose things, you keep organised. And also when you are doing a food shop, when you're writing your shopping list, or when you are planning meals, you can easily come and see what's where, what you've got, what you need to buy more of. It's easy and it's organised. And so let's walk through my larder cupboard. I think the only time I've shared this before is actually on my efficient home course, and I've literally in that course I've taken everybody step by step through our home. So on the top shelves I have got my Kilner jars labelled with what is inside, and I just find this a really, really great way to store flowers. I don't like having bags of flour open unnecessarily. I just find it gets messy, and it's just much easier to store in these jars. So I have these for sugars and for flowers, and I have them up on the top shelf there. It's easy for me to access, and I just find it works well. So here I've got a selection of chocolates and things that have either been given or we have bought. So that's a sort of sweet treat section up there. And then I have got, in fact, that is currently empty, but I just love it. It's a vintage thing that Si's had for years. But if I have other bits and pieces I want to put in there, I can. And then on this side, on the top shelf, is things that I'm not accessing the whole time. I have got my baking, so I've got food colouring, I have got candles, I have got cake decorations, things like cupcake cases and things like that in this space up here, piping bags and nozzles, and it's just really easy to access. And again, they are all labelled, which I find makes such a difference. So if the children are now at an age where they're getting really into cooking, and I can easily say it's in the the food colouring section. That's mainly Coco goes to sort of do baking and things like that, but it's just really easy. In this section here, I have I have tins. So tins of tomatoes, tins of beans, lentils, coconut milk. Simon loves a tin of sardines in olive oil, and so I keep a stash of those there for him. So I've just got all my tins neatly here, and I know exactly what I have, and I try and keep it as organised as possible. So tomatoes, soups, beans and different types of things, I categorize it. So again, I know that I've got, you know, a can of red kidney beans and a can of cannellini beans and coconut milk. I've got all of those things. So if a recipe calls for it, I don't necessarily need to go out shopping. I can just shop my own larder, which is really helpful. Then in this basket here, I have got, and actually these came from IKEA. And I've had them for years. I don't know if IKEA still do them, but they are so useful. They're really solid, they're sturdy, and they're just easy to wipe out. But I have obviously grains and lentils in here, and it's really handy. I've got couscous, and actually the boys are rather into super noodles. That's something that they will make as a quick snack. I'm hungry, and so they'll just make some noodles or something for themselves. And then in this basket, I won't bring it out, but I've got rice in that one. And again, it's clearly labelled, so anybody can come and find it. And often I'll find myself here cooking with an extra pair of hands. If I've got a big catering job, I might be working with somebody, and again, it's really easy because everything's labelled. They can find where it is in my larder. I've got breakfast jams in here. I actually made mini jars of marmalade for our B&B. So I've got those here, but our breakfast jams there, honey and peanut butter. There is actually some Vegemite in there, but that is in that section. That is baking. So I've got different chocolates, I've got cocoa powder, I have got, you know, things that I need for baking there. Up here I've got another one of these plastics for pasta, really handy. So all my different pastas in there. That is savoury jars. It's a little overfull at the moment. I've had to have a word with my husband. He has a complete obsession to buying things like horseradish and mustards and things like that. And I've had to say, darling, enough. Every time he does a food shop, he comes back with a whole load of savoury jars. And so I've had to stop him. I've just got more savoury things here that don't fit in there again as we work through them, and hopefully Simon stops buying them. This space won't be so full, but it is quite full at the moment. My brother sweetly sent me some goodies from Austria, some different pestos, which I'm looking forward to trying, which is very thoughtful of him. And I had a glut of tomatoes this year, so I made my own sun-dried tomatoes. I literally just put tomatoes in a baking tray and I put them in the slow oven and I just dried them out, and I've just got them in olive oil. That they are really, really delicious, and so it's lovely if you're growing your own to be able to use them and preserve them. I make a lot of in fact, I think here I've got a red currant jelly, again from homegrown red currants, which is really, really lovely. So I do preserve quite a lot of things that I grow here as well. Then I've got a basket of spices here, which you might know, you could see I have a lot of herbs, but mainly my spices are there. I've got quite a lot, doing lots of cooking, and so I've got things, but actually I have doubled up. I've got 2 things of cloves there, so I do need to organise this space a little bit because I found I have doubled up on some things. But yes, so I have got my herbs, mainly herbs, but you know, seasoning here, spices there, and then I've got another plastic here of savoury sauces. So I've got things like in fact that's a Liam Perrins, but I've got soy sauce, I've got Tabasco, I have got fish sauce, things like that are all in this basket here. Then my husband has also got a little bit of thing about bread sauce and stuffing. He loves bread sauce and stuffing, and sometimes I say no, I'm not making it, so he'll buy a packet and make his own. But here I've got those sorts of bits, and then these are amazing for drinks parties. They are the Ram's little mini crusades, and they have quite a long shelf life on them, which is really, really handy. I think I normally buy them in Waitrose or Marks and Spencer's, and they're just really handy to have a couple of boxes. And if you have people coming over unexpectedly, you can just whip something up, or if you're having a drinks party, if you've got people staying, they're just a really nice little thing to have. So those live there. And then I have got a selection of teas and coffees down here. Actually, I've got, these need to go in. I'm making so much granola at the moment, and normally I buy in bulk from Booker, but if I don't have time to go down to Booker and a granola order comes in, then I have to buy these smaller pouches. And I keep actually all of my granola ingredients in a big plastic storage tub out in the garage, because I was just finding that it was getting too much in here. And I think that's, you know, this is perfect for a family, but when you are catering as well, sometimes you need to store things out of here, and so it doesn't take over family space. So those oats can go out there. And then I have snacks in this basket for the children, and then in the bottom basket I have things like onions, shallots, potatoes, stored in here. If you're designing your own larder or your own home, it's always a good idea to have a larder on a north facing wall that doesn't get too much sunlight, and an external wall. We couldn't do that here, but if this was on an external wall, I would have a little window and a cold shelf, which is always really lovely to have. That's something that I had dreamt of having, but it wasn't something that we could do in this house. But it's a really good idea if you have got space, or you're designing a home, or you're rejigging things, to put a larder on on an external wall. This is obviously backing onto the laundry room, so it's quite hot, so I can't store too much veg in here. It goes rotten too quickly, so I either keep it in the fridge, or actually we've got a bench outside, and I've kept potatoes and carrots and things like that out there in a cold space that doesn't get too much sunlight, which is really important. I've just got a selection of trays here. I will move you down so you can see the bottom half. So then on this section here, I have got bread, I've got biscuits for everyday biscuits, biscuits for cheese. I have got, actually, I've just made some granola this morning. I need to fill that jar up with granola. I have my Kenwood here. I don't have space in the kitchen for my Kenwood, so it lives in here, which is just really handy to pull it out and easily access it there. I've got lots of teas, which people tend to give me teas. I don't know why, but I've got a surplus of teas that need drinking up in this storage area here. And then down here, I've just got some bottles of wine that people have given us, and some empty jars to fill up with granola. And then down here, I've got some soft fruits and things. But that is how I organise my larder. And I just find it really, really handy having everything here to hand. I literally could just, if I've got a recipe, I can just come to the larder, know where everything is, and be like, yep, I've already got that. And it's just really, really handy. And I feel really lucky that we've got this space. It's just basically a big double cupboard of food and storage, and it's just really, really convenient having it. I hope that you have enjoyed having a look inside my larder cupboard and me talking through how I run it and how I manage it. I find organising into categories really, really helpful. It's made a big difference. And if you don't have space to have a big larder like this, I know lots of people have walk-in larders. I would love to have a walk-in larder. I'd love to be able to have crockery in my larder as well. I don't have the space here. But even if you just have a couple of cupboards in your kitchen, I do find organising things into categories and having these containers that I can just easily lift out and find things. I find it just much easier to manage having it in these IKEA boxes and clearly labelled. Before I had those, I used to find it get a little bit messy, a little bit unmanageable. So this has definitely helped me. And I think I've had it like this for probably about five years or so, quite a long while. And I just find it really, really helpful. So I hope that has given you a little bit of inspiration. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on Friday with a new vlog.